International. It's time for the news.
In today's top stories, the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, is pursuing a state visit to the Republic of Slovenia, where a number of agreements and memorandums of understanding in various sectors have been signed. Algeria from New York has called for a permanent and comprehensive halt to the Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip and the lifting of the imposed blockade. Algeria has said that it is following with deep concern the resumption of armed clashes between Libyan brothers in the capital Tripoli, which has led to the loss of human life. And the United States President Donald Trump has announced that U.S. sanctions on Syria will be lifted in order to give them a chance at greatness. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Samani. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, is pursuing today the state visit he is making to the Republic of Slovenia at the invitation of his Slovenian counterpart. Over the course of the day, the President of the Republic will visit tourist sites, horse breeding areas, and a company specializing in the space industry and artificial intelligence. The second day of the state visit of the President of the Republic to the Republic of Slovenia was marked by the signing of several agreements and memorandums of understanding in various sectors, as well as a convergence of views between the two friendly countries on various issues of common interest. In a joint statement with his Slovenian counterpart, Nataša Pirc Musar, the President of the Republic underlined that the total convergence between the two countries on all issues, expressing Algeria's readiness to meet all the gas needs of this friendly country.
The President of the Republic mentioned the possibility of Slovenia contributing to projects carried out by Algeria, notably in the field of purification and recycling of wastewater for reuse in agriculture and industry in view of Slovenia's extensive experience in this field. He also praised the courageous and honest positions of the Republic of Slovenia on the Palestinian question, adding that Slovenia was the first European state to recognize the state of Palestine, describing this step as a great honor. Welcoming Slovenia's positions on Western Sahara, the President of the Republic reiterated his wish to reach, under the aegis of the UN, a solution that enshrines the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination through the organization of a referendum.
فيما يخص القضايا الدولية فيسعني إلا أن أشكر مواقف جمهورية سلوفينيا، مواقف النزاهة والشجاعة بالنسبة لفلسطين. كانت أول دولة أوروبية تعترف بالدولة الفلسطينية، وهذا يشرف كثير السياسة السلوفينية، وأتمنى أن تكون القدوة لكثير من الدول. كما أشكر فخامة الرئيسة على موقف سلوفينيا فيما يخص ما يجري في الصحراء الغربية. نتمنى حل يرضي الطرفين تحت إشراف الأمم المتحدة، وإذا القيام بتنظيم الاستفتاء من أجل تقرير المصير في أراضي الصحراء الغربية.
In this respect, he made a point of affirming that despite all that is said here and there, Algeria remains a peaceful state whose main concern is to establish peace in the region, in the Mediterranean and throughout the world.
فيما يخص النزاعات الأخرى، الجزائر رغم ما يقال هنا وهناك، ولكن الجزائر دولة مسالمة، شغلها الشاغل هو السلم في المنطقة، السلم في البحر الأبيض المتوسط، والسلم في العالم. منذ استقلالنا وإحنا نتدخل بين أصدقاء وغير الأصدقاء، أينما نشبت حرب تجد الجزائر تحاول أن تساوي الأمر أمور بسلاسة وبتفاهم، بعيدين كل البعد عن العنف.
For her part, the President of the Republic of Slovenia, Nataša Pirc-Musar, said that the high-level delegation accompanying the President of the Republic on his state visit to Slovenia reflected the strong desire of the two countries to deepen their bilateral relations. She expressed her country's position on the Palestinian question, calling on the international community to intensify dialogue to take urgent action to put an end to the Zionist aggression against Gaza. She also reaffirmed her country's position on the Western Sahara issue, calling for the right of the Sahrawi people to self-determination within the framework of international legality.
President Abdelmajid Tebboune and his Slovenian counterpart co-chaired the opening of the Algerian-Slovenian Businessmen Forum devoted to examining ways and means of strengthening economic and trade relations and exploring all the opportunities available in this respect. Masoud Sharfi has the details.
Yesterday, on the second day of the visit, the Algerian president held bilateral talks with his Slovenian counterpart, Nataša Pirc-Musar, with whom he underlined in a joint statement a convergence of views between the two friendly countries on various issues of common interest.
أشكر فخامة الرئيس على حفاوة الاستقبال وسماح لنا بتبادل الآراء في كل ميادين، ولا أكرر ما جاءت به فخامة الرئيسة لأن اتفاقنا كان تام في كل المواضيع، انطلاقا من الهجرة غير شرعية إلى تقدم في المياه، في الفلاحة، في الذكاء الاصطناعي، في الفضاء، في كل ما تملكه سلوفينيا من قدرات ممكن تحويلها إلى شبابنا.
In the extract we have just heard, President Abdelmajid Tebboune underlined the existence of a total convergence on all issues, starting from illegal immigration, water management, agriculture, artificial intelligence, space, and on all Slovenian competences that can be transferred to Algerian youth. After expressing his satisfaction with the privileged relations between Algeria and Ljubljana, the President of the Republic expressed his desire for bilateral trade, currently estimated at $90 million, to exceed $100 million, while aspiring to transactions worth billions of dollars between the two countries in the future. Still on the subject of cooperation, President Abdelmajid Tebboune expressed Algeria's readiness to meet all the gas needs of this friendly country.
فيما يخص التمويل جمهورية سلوفينيا الصديقة بالغاز الجزائري، فنحن حاليا من أكبر الممولين لأوروبا فيما يخص الغاز الطبيعي، وطبعا الامتداد من إيطاليا نحو سلوفينيا ونحو دول أخرى شيء طبيعي، وإحنا مستعدين للاستجابة الإيجابية لكل طلبات نتاع سلوفينيا فيما يخص الطاقة.
On the question of supplying Slovenia with the Algerian gas, President Tebboune recalled that Algeria is one of the major suppliers of gas to Europe and its extension from Italy to Slovenia and other countries. Algeria is ready to meet all the gas needs of friendly Slovenia, the president said in this statement.
President Tebboune has been received in the capital by the President of the National Assembly of the Republic of Slovenia, Orska Zuparic. On this occasion, the President of the Republic signed the Golden Book of the National Assembly of Slovenia. The President of the Republic also met with members of the Algerian community settled in Slovenia who traveled to the capital to meet and welcome him on the occasion of his state visit to this friendly country. The ambassador of Slovenia to Algiers has said that the visit of Algerian President to Slovenia comes in line with the historic and economic relations linking Algeria and Slovenia. It also falls within the framework of the two countries' convergence of views regarding different causes, notably the Western Sahara issue.
Today we had the pleasure of hosting the President of Algeria, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, in Slovenia. 8 very important memorandums and documents were signed. One of them was the joint declaration between our two governments. In this declaration, the Prime Minister and the President confirmed the friendly relations and cooperation between our two countries, the excellent relations on the political and economic areas, and they also agreed about the opportunities for enhanced cooperation so that it will be sustainable and fruitful. They were talking about the areas of security, of infrastructure, of automotive industry, energy, small and medium enterprises, startups, police cooperation, and so on. They also agreed to explore exchanges between institutions and other competent bodies. Several MOUs or memorandums of understanding will be signed in the future. They also reaffirmed a commitment to multilateralism, the United Nations Charter, and also exchanged views on the Western Sahara, where Slovenian position is very well known.
That was the statement of Slovenia's ambassador to Algeria, Urška Kramberger-Mendek. As you followed in our top stories, Algeria from New York and through the voice of a member of its permanent mission to the United Nations, Tawfiq Qudri, has demanded a permanent and comprehensive halt to the Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip, the lifting of the imposed blockade, the opening of crossings for humanitarian aid, and an end to all forms of forced displacement. Asabika has more.
In his speech during a Security Council meeting on the situation in the Middle East, including the Palestinian question, Mr. Qudri condemned the worsening crisis in Gaza after 19 months of aggression and 70 days of siege, stressing that while weapons reach the Strip, food and medicine are blocked, leaving civilians, especially children, facing only fear and death.
After nearly 19 months of a savage and brutal aggression against an unarmed people, and after more than 70 days of a suffocating siege on Gaza, we are not merely facing a passing crisis, but a humanitarian catastrophe. The scale of moral disgrace will continue to haunt all those who took part in it, those who colluded with it, and even those who remained silent. The only thing allowed into Gaza is death. Bombs and bullets make their way into the Strip, while milk is denied to infants. Water is forbidden, medicine is blocked, and crossings are closed in the face of life. The children of Gaza, in all their innocence, are left alone to face the specter of hunger and the fire of siege. The people of Gaza are deprived of everything except death and fear.
He warned of a worsening humanitarian disaster in Gaza, where people are witnessing the destruction of their homes and suffering from severe hunger and malnutrition. He described the Israeli blockade as a systematic starvation crime, with dozens of elderly people and children recently dying due to lack of food. Despite over 3,000 aid trucks ready to enter, access is being blocked in violation of international law. Mr. Qudri also insisted Mr. Qudri also rejected Israel's so-called humanitarian plan as misleading and inadequate, urging the Security Council to break its silence and uphold the Palestinians' right to life, dignity, and justice. Mr. Qudri called for ending the siege on Gaza and affirmed the Palestinians' right to peace, dignity, and a state with East Jerusalem as its capital.
We demand a permanent and comprehensive end to this unjust aggression, the lifting of the siege on our people in Gaza, the opening of crossings for humanitarian aid, and an end to all forms of forced displacement. The Palestinian people want a homeland and dignity. They want peace that is neither conditional nor partial, but rather a just and lasting peace. They want an independent state on land called Palestine, with Al-Quds al-Sharif, Jerusalem, as its capital.
His address was a clear and urgent plea for justice, echoing Algeria's unwavering support for the Palestinian people and their legitimate rights. As the humanitarian situation in Gaza deteriorates, Algeria has reaffirmed its commitment to peace, international law, and the fundamental principles of human dignity.
In the same context, during the Security Council meeting on Palestine, the Palestinian representative, Riyad Mansour, said Israel had been blocking humanitarian aid for over 2 months, calling it engineered starvation. He warned that 2.1 million people face famine, especially children, and described the crisis as clear evidence of an intent to destroy the Palestinian people in Gaza.
Israel has been openly and brazenly blocking humanitarian aid for over 2 months now. This is engineered starvation. It is the most inhumane form of torture and killing. 2.1 million people are at risk of famine, with 500,000 faced with a catastrophic situation of hunger and starvation, illness, and death. Israel is weaponizing aid, unleashing famine, which impact is felt most by the smallest children. If ever more proof was needed for the intention to destroy the Palestinian people in Gaza, this manufactured famine is the ultimate proof.
For his part, the Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs Tom Fletcher told the Council that Israel was deliberately imposing inhuman conditions on civilians in Gaza, saying that nothing had entered the Gaza for over 10 weeks, while hundreds of thousands had been forcibly displaced, with 70% of the territory now under militarized zones or displacement orders.
Mr. President, let me start with what we see and are mandated by this Council to report. Israel is deliberately and unashamedly imposing inhumane conditions on civilians in the occupied Palestinian territory. For more than 10 weeks, nothing has entered Gaza, no food, medicine, water, or tents. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have again been forcibly displaced and confined into ever-shrinking spaces, as 70% of Gaza's territory is either within Israeli militarized zones or under displacement orders.
The ambassador of the United Kingdom to the UN, Barbara Woodward, has said that the policy of Israel aimed at starving the entire Palestinian population was unacceptable. She added that the use of humanitarian aid as war weapon was against international and humanitarian laws.
We have two clear messages for the government of Israel. Lift the block on aid entering Gaza now and enable the UN and all humanitarians to save lives. Any model for distributing humanitarian aid must be independent, impartial, and neutral, and in line with international humanitarian law and principles. We cannot support any model that places political or military objectives above the needs of civilians. Without an urgent lifting of the aid block, more Palestinians are at risk of dying, deaths that could easily be avoided. Humanitarian aid must never be used as a political tool or a military tactic. We're also deeply concerned at proposals to establish a new mechanism for the delivery of aid, which the UN has said would not meet humanitarian principles. International law requires Israel to allow and facilitate the safe, rapid and unimpeded passage of humanitarian aid and ensure that basic services are provided for all Gazan civilians.
That was the ambassador of the United Kingdom to the UN, Barbara Woodward. Now, the Zionist occupation army continues to expand its bulldozing and destruction operations inside Jenin camp, altering its features and obliterating its identity while continuing to prevent entry and access to the camp. The Jenin municipality estimates that as the aggression enters its 114th day, the occupation authorities have completely demolished approximately 600 houses in the camp, while the rest have been partially damaged and rendered uninhabitable. More in this burning topic with Saeed Bougazi.
A Wafa correspondent noted that the effects of the occupation's aggressions were not limited to the camp alone, but extended to the city of Jenin, causing significant damage to facilities, homes and infrastructure, especially in the eastern neighborhood and the El Hadef neighborhood. She noted that, in light of the ongoing aggression, families from the camp, as well as hundreds of families from the city and its surroundings, are still being forcibly displaced. The Jenin municipality indicates that the number of displaced persons from the camp and the city has exceeded 22,000. The economic situation in Jenin is also deteriorating, with heavy commercial losses resulting from the aggression estimated at approximately $300 million so far. Many shops have been forced to close due to bulldozing and the destruction of infrastructure and streets, in addition to the decline in shopping traffic coming into the city from outside. On-the-ground villages in Jenin Governorate are witnessing almost daily raids as the aggression against the city and camp continues. These raids are being recorded daily in most villages of the Governorate, along with the constant presence of occupation patrols and vehicles. This morning, forces detained 4 young men from Anza and Meitalun, south of Jenin. The occupation forces patrolled the streets of the interior roundabout and the surrounding areas of the camp, especially near Jenin Governmental Hospital. The occupation forces also raided the town of Silat El Harithia and fired live ammunition at civilians. Since the beginning of the aggression on the city and camp on January 21, 2025, 40 people have been killed, along with dozens more injured and detained.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. Now to other news. The Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of African Affairs, Ms. Bakhta Selma Mansouri, is taking part in the United Nations Ministerial Conference on Peacekeeping Operations held yesterday and today, Wednesday, in Berlin, Germany. Algeria's participation in this UN meeting reaffirms its constant positions in favor of political and peaceful solutions, but also its commitment in supporting African and international efforts to restore stability and promote peace in areas affected by conflicts through a global approach favoring prevention and respecting the sovereignty of states. In this meeting, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has said that peacekeepers remain key to help countries move from conflict to peace. Masoud Sharfi has more in this report.
Addressing the UN Peacekeeping Ministerial 2025 in the German capital, Guterres said despite the proven value of peacekeeping mission in ensuring a durable peace in countless countries, today's challenges had made this task much harder. He said the world is now facing the highest number of conflicts since the founding of the United Nations and record numbers of people fleeing across borders in search of safety and refuge, before alluding to additional obstacles caused by an absence of political support for peacekeeping mandates.
Excellencies, we owe it to peacekeepers and the populations they protect to continue strengthening their ability to answer this call to peace, and to do so in the face of daunting challenges. Complex, intertwined and frequently borderless conflicts, growing polarization and division around the globe, targeting of peacekeepers through deadly misinformation spreading through social media, terrorism and transnational crime which find fertile ground in instability, the ongoing climate crisis that is exacerbating conflict while leaving more of the planet uninhabitable, all the continued trampling of international law and international humanitarian law. As a result, we are now facing the highest number of conflicts since the foundation of the United Nations and record number of people fleeing across borders in search of safety and refuge.
Guterres referenced the Pact of the Future, which calls for a comprehensive review for peace operations, stressing that the review will examine how we can make peacekeeping operations more adaptable, flexible and resilient.
Algeria has said that it is following with deep concern the resumption of armed clashes between Libyan brothers and in the capital Tripoli, which has led to the loss of human life and the squandering of the resources of this brotherly country, reiterating its call for dialogue as the only way to overcome differences. A statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said, in the light of these serious developments, Algeria reiterates its sincere and urgent appeal to all the Libyan brothers to commit themselves to the path of dialogue as the only way to overcome their differences, to demonstrate a high sense of national responsibility, and to place the supreme interest of the Libyan people above any short-term considerations or narrow calculations. It added that Algeria wishes to affirm that Libya, a brotherly country, needs now more than ever the unity of all its children, and their reconciliation far from division and discord in order to advance the political process led under the aegis of the United Nations towards a long-awaited solution. Malian lawyer and former Minister of Justice Mamadou Ismaila Konate has described the repeal of the charter of political parties by the coup leaders in power in Mali as a legal coup and a political injustice, stressing that this measure signaled the death of political pluralism in the country. Asya Bikar has more.
The text removing the charter of political parties was passed on Monday by the National Transition Council, whose members were appointed by the military coup leaders who came to power after two coups in 2020 and 2021. Mamadou Ismaila Konate said by repealing the charter of political parties and the law on the status of the opposition, the coup leaders did not simply pass a reform, but they signed the death certificate of political pluralism in Mali. The former Malian minister carried on saying that far from a legislative adjustment, this maneuver aims at a systematic demolition of political countervailing powers. Moreover, the Malian former minister refuted the argument of the coup leaders that the repeal of the party charter does not call into question the existence of political parties. He added that the repeal is not followed by any immediate creation. It is a deliberate, organized, and strategic legal vacuum, as he put it. The Malian former minister said the military, through this approach, intends to take control of the political game, to regulate party participation as it sees fit, to decide alone the content, the framework, and the limits of the democratic field.
United States President Donald Trump has announced that U.S. sanctions on Syria will be lifted in order to give them a chance at greatness. Trump said in Saudi Arabia that there is a new government that will hopefully succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. Trump also met Syria's President Ahmed al-Shara in Riyadh in a further signal to the world that the international isolation of Syria should end. Earlier, the United States President Donald Trump said Saudi Arabia will invest $600 billion in the United States, including through technology partnerships and weapons sales agreement worth $142 billion. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. This is the English service, and I'm Jamal Salmani.
العالم يتغير وبسرعة، ونحن نتابع وبدقة نحاول الوصول إلى الحقيقة من مصدرها مباشرة.